How was the ride, beautiful?
It was good, Mikey.
Good.
Wow.
Good.
It's cold out here.
I'm telling you, baby, we're gonna be able to do that this year, ride in the cold.
Oh yeah.
You think we can do it?
Every year.
Babe, can we do it for real?
Yeah.
Ooh, Lord. Okay. All right, Wood Nation bros and bros, check it out, man. For those who follow the channel, you guys know this is where me and wifey serve on Sundays. Look at that beautiful cross. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm telling you, man. That's another form of therapy right there, man. Good wind therapy. Just looking at it and be like, ah. And then me and wifey put our signatures on that cross when they before they hung the cross, like what was it, like a few years ago, I think. When they hung up that cross, when they hung the cross like a few years ago. Yeah, man, this is where we serve. If you guys ever want to visit, 55 Al Henderson Boulevard, Savannah, Georgia, 31419. We would love to have you guys. Motorcycle parking is always welcome. And you know what I'm saying, you can drive one of your cages, your cars. All right, y'all, we about to get up in here, man, because it is cold, bros and bros. Wife, are you sure we can ride the rest of this year like this? Because it's only going to get colder.
Oh yeah, we can do it.
Wifey said we can do it, y'all.
Hi again, Wood Nation. We had another phenomenal church service, and we really enjoyed serving at our church today. I hope y'all enjoy the sermon notes that hubby is going to share with y'all today.
Wood Nation, what's going on, bros and bros? Look, man, just like wifey said, we had yet another phenomenal service. Y'all already know I got to put my right hand up, man. Look, today's service was taught by our senior pastor, Pastor Cam Huxford, here at our Henderson campus, and he's continuing with the series, not done yet, with today's topic. Are you trying to convert me? Wow, are you trying to convert me? And we're coming from Acts, the 25th chapter and 26th chapter. Man, I'm telling you guys, this is such a blessing. Let me read this here to you guys real quick. Check this out, bros and bros. And it says this here. If I can find it. All right, here we go. It says this. Paul is going to show us today that nobody is out of reach of the grace of God. And no circumstance has the power to stop us from showing the love of God and showing the truth of God. Wow. Let me read that one more time. Paul is going to show us today that nobody is out of reach of the grace of God. And no circumstance has the power to stop you from showing the love of God and sharing the truth of God. Let's dive in. All right, bros and bros. So the chapters of today is chapter 25 and chapter 26 from the book of Acts. So to keep from reading both of those chapters entirely, what I'm going to do is just give a breakdown of both of those chapters, and then I'm going to read a passage from chapter 26. Let's do it. All right, bros and bros. So my guy Paul is on trial yet again. This time he's in what you call an audience room, right? That's an exterior area, pretty much a symbolic of a coliseum where you pretty much judged and tried, etc. Now you have all the big wigs there. You got King Agrippa, you got King Agrippa's sister, which is Bernice. You have all these big wigs there, right? All preparing to judge Paul. Now, man, I love this dude, Paul. This dude rock, man. So now I'm going to be reading the passage from chapter 26, right? Because Paul has been given the opportunity to speak on his own behalf, right? Now, anybody with the background of Paul, this is an opportunity for Paul, if he so choose to now, to get himself out of what we would call a situation, right? But remember, Paul is there because he proclaimed the name of Christ, all right? Paul preached, talked about Jesus, right? And it was like, we don't want anybody talking about the way. That's what they call it back in the Bible. They call it the way, pretty much talking about Christ, right? Paul was like, no, this guy, especially with Paul's background, right? Paul wasn't your average cat. Remember, Paul was once the bigwig of the Roman soldiers. Remember, he would capture Christians, you know what I'm saying, and throw them in prison and all these other things. Even will go so far to provoke Christians to give them more time and to, you know, have them beaten and all this other stuff. I'm telling you, Paul was about that life. Paul literally was about that life, right? Well, now Paul is representing himself, right? And this is, like I said, an opportunity that he can actually get out of. Why? Because Paul is a Roman. He is a Roman Jew, right? This dude takes that time once again to talk to everybody in this Coliseum setting about Christ. Man, all the Jews wanted Paul to do is to renounce Christ. The leaders, the elders, the king, everybody wanted him to renounce Christ. Man, they would have opened the cell gates, let him walk free. But keep in mind, he's been in prison now for a little over 2 years. We already know he ain't stepping back, right? So he's going to continue to move forward. All right, so now I'm going to read the latter part of Acts, the 26th chapter. Check this out. Here we go. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? This is Paul talking now. King Agrippa, do you believe the prophets? I know you do. Then Agrippa said to Paul, do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian? Y'all know I got to read that again, bros and broettes. King Agrippa said to Paul, do you think that in a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian? Wow. Now there may have been some sarcasm there. I believe if it was sarcasm, it was with a hint of seriousness. Wow. Because Christ through Paul had everybody's attention. Right. All right. Because this wasn't no regular person on trial. This was Paul, right? Wow. Check that out. Here, listen to Paul's reply. Paul replied, short time or long, I pray that God not only bless you, but all who are listening to me today and become what I am. Short time or long, I pray that God bless all who are listening to me today and become what I am. Oh my gosh. Listen to that hidden gem. And become what I am. Ooh, I am that I am. Woo! Remember Moses said, well, who should I say sent me? God say, tell him I am that I am. Wow. Could it be that Paul is saying, I want you guys to become like Christ? Wow, that's exactly what he's saying. That's good. Wow, bros and bros. Yes, man. Oh my gosh. He said, I pray that everyone listening to me today may become what I am, except for these chains. Check Paul out with the slight sarcasm, bros and bros, because remember the king says, do you think in such a short time you can convince me to become a Christian? Paul says, long term or short term, I pray that everybody listening to me become what I am, except for these chains. What? He gave the sarcasm right back, bro. Except for these chains. Don't even look too deep into it because it was sarcasm. Bro, that's awesome, man. Paul is saying that everybody under the sound of his voice, he wished that everyone could become a Christian such as he, except for the chains. The chains don't have a soul. The chains don't have ears, etc., etc., etc. Wow. Then the king arose, and with him the governor and Bernice and all those sitting with him. They left the room, and while talking to one another, they said, check this out, y'all. This man is not doing anything that deserves death or imprisonment. Once again, they come to the conclusion, just like with pretty much every other Christian in the Bible, right? Listen to that. They left the room, and while talking to one another, they said, this man has not done anything that deserves death or imprisonment. Y'all know I got to read that one more time, bros and bros. They left the room, and while talking to one another, they said, this man has not done anything. He don't deserve death. He don't deserve imprisonment. We need to pretty much let him go right now. All right, bros and bros, what Paul did is he shared his story. All right, meaning he shared his testimony. Remember earlier I read this. Paul is going to show us today that nobody is out of reach of the grace of God, and no circumstance has the power to stop you from showing the love of God and from sharing the truth of God. One of the golden nuggets from the pastor is this here. When you share your story, talk about how Jesus changed you. When you share your story, talk about how Jesus changed you. All right, so another golden nugget is this here. When you share your story, keep the main thing the main thing. Jesus is real. Jesus rose from the dead. And I know Jesus in a personal, life-changing way. Y'all know I got to read that again, bros and bros. When you share your story, keep the main thing the main thing. Jesus is real. Jesus rose from the dead. And I know Jesus in a personal, life-changing way. That's exactly what Paul did. Paul kept the main thing the main thing. And who do you guys think the main thing is? Christ. Keep it center focus. Christ-centered focus. Because you know what I'm saying? There are some testimonies that can kind of get you off the rails and be like, man, you used to do that? Bro, you used to do that? And sometimes you get to talking about it, you're like, Man, I kind of missed them days, you know. So now we've turned that into the main thing. So just, hey, when you share your testimony, that's all fine and dandy, but make sure we keep it Christ-centered. You know what I'm saying? Man, I'm pulling 2 or 3 up at one time, you know. Whoa, big guy. You know, I was the perfect embezzler. Wait a minute. No, you know, I had no bills. Keep it Christ-centered. But God, look at my definitely keep it Christ-centered, guys. All right, so another golden nugget is this here, bros and broettes. When you get an opportunity to share your story, talk about Jesus. When you get an opportunity to share your story, talk about Jesus. All right, people may ask you questions such as, what were you like without Jesus? All right, what were you like without Jesus? Paul told them what he was like without Jesus. All right, next question you may get, how did you meet Jesus? How did you meet Jesus? How did you meet Jesus? Y'all feel free to put it in the comments below if you want. How did you meet Jesus? Third question you may get, what has your life been like since you met Jesus? What has your life been like since you met Jesus? Wow, isn't that something? Paul, when he met Jesus, his whole life turned around. Wow. And he knew the consequences. That's another thing that I dig about my guy Paul. He knew the consequences, but it was well worth it, because when he met Christ on that road to Damascus, that was it. That was it right there. Paul had a set mind and a mindset to go with Christ all the way. That was it right there. All right. All right, here's another one. When you share your story, expect to be rejected sometimes, but still share your story. Y'all know I got to read that again. When you share your story, expect to be rejected sometimes, but still share your story. The way Paul shared his story, yes, they rejected him, but Paul gave reverence to everybody. It was like, man, we can't help but to listen to what he has to say. Oh my gosh. So sometimes you are going to be rejected. Why? Because, you know, let's just be honest. Some people think, you know, some Christians are lame. They think, you know what I'm saying, this walk with Christ are lame. Some people have come up with their own religion, their own universe God or whatever. So if you're not talking about that, you're considered, you know what I'm saying, lame, or you'll be rejected. All right. People have different ways of rejecting you from the conversation, rejecting you from being around their presence, etc. But when you get that opportunity, still share your story. I'm not saying, you know, been bored the conversation, I want to tell you about Christ, you all. No. You know what I'm saying? Still share your story, meaning be ready and stay ready for that opportunity. And when that opportunity arrives, share your story. All right. And keep it Christ-centered. Keep it Christ-centered. Now, and my suggestion, you only share your story when people are ready to listen. All right. There's no need of sharing your story and no one is willing to listen, how it can help them, how it can change them. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, sharing your story to someone that's willing to change and listening and help is different from sharing your story because someone want to be nosy. Man, who is that dude? Who is that girl? What were they like in time past? That person, you know, strikes my curiosity. Well, I could tell you who I am now. I could tell you who I serve now. I could tell you who I love now. Jesus, 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 Christ-centered. All right. So some people, you know, they kind of want to dig into your past for, you know, nosy purposes. But hey, the Bible says Christ has taken all of your sin and washed it away. So the only thing they're going to find is a trail to your present. Ooh, and that's Christ-centered, baby. All right, bros and broas. So in closing, here's the final nugget. Check this out. When God opens the door for you to share your faith story, you don't always know what's happening. You won't always see the results. But if you are faithful, there will be a result. Wow. Bros and bros, y'all know I got to read that again. When God opened the door for you to share your faith story, you don't always know what's happening. You won't always see the results. But if you are faithful, there will always be a result. All right. So what that's saying pretty much in essence, like I said earlier, always look for that opportunity to share your story. Sometimes you don't know why you're saying what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But all you know, hey, if it's giving glory to God and if it's helping that person out, man, continue by all means. you know. I mean, it's just like, you know, when y'all, you know what I'm saying, when we all see people standing on the side of the road asking for change, sometimes we give, sometimes we don't. But when you have that urge to give, man, give, whether it's water, money, you know what I'm saying, food. But sometimes, hey, you just don't feel comfortable giving, and that's fine. Sometimes you just don't feel comfortable sharing your faith story, sharing your testimony, and that's fine. But you know, God will let you know when that divine moment comes for you to share your testimony, because it will always help and not hinder. Remember that. It will always help and not hinder. And that's how you know that it's Christ. Blessings.